The year is 539 BCE. In the ancient city of Babylon, crowds gather in the dusty streets as news spreads through the markets and temples. The impossible has happened. The greatest empire the world has ever known has fallen without a single siege, without the usual destruction and carnage that accompanies conquest. Instead, a Persian king named Cyrus has walked through the gates as a liberator, proclaiming something that had never been heard before in human history, that all peoples should worship their own gods, speak their own languages, and live according to their own customs. This was not just the beginning of the Persian Empire, it was the moment when civilization itself took a new direction. For the next 26 centuries, through rises and falls, conquests and defeats, foreign dominations and glorious renewals, the Persian lands would serve as a bridge between East and West, a crucible where ideas, technologies, and cultures would blend and transform into something entirely new. Tonight, let the urgency of the modern world fade away. Allow your mind to travel across millennia, through the slow accumulation of wisdom and the patient development of ideas that can only be understood when we abandon our contemporary impatience with time. We're about to witness the unfolding of one of humanity's most enduring civilizations, where the concept of empire itself was reimagined, and where the foundations were laid for much of what we consider modern governance, art, and human rights. The story begins in the harsh plateau of central Iran, where nomadic tribes had been migrating from the steppes of Central Asia for over 1,000 years. These were the Persians, horse-riding warriors who spoke an Indo-European language related to Sanskrit and ancient Greek, but who had adapted to a landscape unlike anywhere their ancestors had known. The Iranian plateau, with its vast deserts, towering mountains and scattered oases, required new forms of social organisation and new relationships with settled agricultural peoples. By the 8th century BCE, the Persians had established themselves in the region called Fars, in what is now southwestern Iran. They were vassals to the Median Empire, itself a confederation of Iranian tribes that had overthrown the Assyrians and carved out territory from the Zagros Mountains to the edges of Anatolia. The Medes had introduced the Persians to the sophistication of Near Eastern civilization, the art of writing, the organisation of bureaucratic administration, and the complex diplomatic relationships that governed the interactions between the great powers of the ancient world. The Persian tribes were organised around a complex system of kinship and loyalty that would prove remarkably adaptable to the challenges of governing vast and diverse territories. Unlike the rigid hierarchies that characterised most ancient societies, Persian social organisation was based on what might be called meritocratic principles. Excellence in warfare, administration, or craftsmanship could elevate individuals regardless of their birth, while the concept of noble truth-telling created ethical standards that applied even to kings. The religious worldview that shaped Persian society was equally distinctive. The teachings of Zoroaster, a prophet who may have lived in the 7th or 6th century BCE, had introduced concepts that were revolutionary for their time. The world was seen as a battleground between forces of light and darkness, truth and falsehood, but humans were not passive victims of divine caprice. Each individual had the responsibility to choose between good and evil, and these choices would determine not only personal fate but the ultimate destiny of the cosmos itself. This emphasis on individual moral responsibility, combined with respect for diverse cultural traditions, would become the foundation of Persian imperial ideology. When Cyrus the Great began his conquests in the 500s and 50s BCE, he was not simply another ambitious warlord seeking to expand his territory. He was implementing a vision of empire that had never been attempted before, a system that sought to unite diverse peoples through justice and tolerance rather than through fear and oppression. The rise of Cyrus to power within the Persian Confederation was itself a demonstration of these principles. According to later historical accounts, Cyrus was the grandson of the Median king Astyages, but he had been raised among the Persian tribes rather than at the Median court. When conflict arose between the Medes and Persians, Cyrus successfully united the Persian tribes and defeated his grandfather. But rather than destroying the Median nobility or devastating their territories, he incorporated them into his expanding empire as honoured partners. This pattern of conquest through incorporation rather than destruction would characterise Persian imperial expansion for the next 2 centuries. When Cyrus moved westward against Lydia, he defeated King Croesus but allowed him to retain his wealth and position as an advisor. The Greek cities of Ionia, which had been under Lydian rule, found themselves with greater autonomy under Persian administration than they had enjoyed under their previous masters. The conquest of Babylon in 539 BCE represented the culmination of this new approach to empire building. Babylon was not just another city to be captured, it was the ancient centre of Mesopotamian civilization, the seat of learning and culture that could trace its traditions back over 3 millennia. The Babylonian priesthood and nobility had grown increasingly dissatisfied with their king, Nabonidus, who had alienated traditional religious authorities and disrupted established ceremonies. Cyrus presented himself not as a foreign conqueror, but as a liberator sent by Marduk, the chief god of Babylon, to restore proper religious observances and just governance. The famous Cyrus Cylinder, written in Akkadian cuneiform, proclaimed his intention to return displaced populations to their homelands, rebuild ruined temples, and restore traditional religious practices. This was the first known charter of human rights, establishing principles of religious tolerance and cultural autonomy that would influence legal and political thinking for millennia. The return of the Jewish exiles to Jerusalem, made possible by Cyrus's policies, exemplified this approach to imperial governance. Rather than seeing religious and cultural diversity as threats to imperial unity, the Persians understood that allowing conquered peoples to maintain their traditions would make them more willing supporters of Persian rule. The rebuilding of the Jerusalem temple, funded by the Persian treasury and protected by imperial decree, demonstrated that the empire could benefit from the loyalty of diverse communities. But Persian imperial ideology was not simply a matter of tolerance and benevolence. It was backed by military organization and administrative efficiency that surpassed anything the ancient world had previously seen. The Persian army was built around the elite infantry unit known as the Immortals, 10,000 soldiers who were recruited from Persian and Median nobility and trained to the highest standards of discipline and effectiveness. These troops formed the core of armies that could field hundreds of thousands of soldiers drawn from across the empire. The administrative system that governed this vast territory was equally sophisticated. The empire was divided into provinces called satrapies, each governed by a satrap who was responsible for collecting taxes, maintaining order, and providing troops for imperial campaigns. But the satraps were not autonomous rulers. They were balanced by military commanders and royal inspectors who reported directly to the king, creating a system of checks and balances that prevented any individual from accumulating too much power. The royal road system that connected the provinces was one of the great engineering achievements of the ancient world. The main highway stretched over 1,500 miles from Sardis in western Anatolia to Susa in southwestern Iran, with posting stations every 15 miles where fresh horses and supplies were available for royal messengers. This communication network allowed the Persian king to receive reports from distant provinces and send responses within weeks rather than months, making it possible to govern effectively across unprecedented distances. The capital cities that served as centres of imperial administration were marvels of urban planning and architectural achievement. Persepolis, built by Darius the Great beginning around 515 BCE, was not just a royal residence, but a symbolic representation of the empire's diversity and unity. The massive audience halls and ceremonial staircases were decorated with reliefs showing representatives of every province bringing tribute to the Persian king. But these were not conquered subjects displaying their submission. They were depicted as honoured participants in a great imperial community. The construction of Persepolis required technological and organisational capabilities that pushed ancient engineering to new levels of sophistication. The massive stone platforms that supported the palace complex were cut and fitted with precision that would not be surpassed until modern times. The columns that supported the great halls, some over 60 feet tall, were transported from quarries hundreds of miles away and raised into position using techniques that required understanding of mechanical engineering principles that were centuries ahead of their time. The artistic program that decorated these buildings represented a fusion of styles and traditions drawn from across the known world. Persian, Median, Mesopotamian, Egyptian and Greek influences were combined into a distinctive imperial aesthetic that expressed both the diversity of the empire and the unity of Persian royal ideology. The skilled craftsmen who created these works came from every corner of the empire, working together to create artistic achievements that reflected the cosmopolitan character of Persian civilization. The economic foundation that supported this magnificent architecture was equally impressive. The Persian Empire controlled trade routes that connected India with the Mediterranean, Central Asia with Africa, and China with Europe. Persian merchants and administrators developed new financial instruments and accounting methods that facilitated commerce across vast distances and between different cultural systems. The Persian gold daric became the first truly international currency, accepted from the Black Sea to the Indian Ocean. Agricultural development throughout the empire reflected Persian understanding of both engineering and environmental management. The Qanat irrigation system, which brought water from mountain sources to arid valleys through underground channels, was expanded and improved under Persian administration. These engineering works, some of which are still in operation today, enabled agricultural development that supported population growth and urban expansion throughout the Iranian plateau and beyond. The legal system that governed this diverse empire was based on written law codes that balanced Persian legal traditions with local customs and practices. Persian judges were trained to understand both imperial law and regional legal traditions, creating a judicial system that could provide consistent justice while respecting cultural differences. The emphasis on truth-telling and just dealing that characterized Persian ethics was reflected in legal procedures that emphasized evidence and testimony, rather than ordeal or divine judgment. Educational institutions throughout the empire promoted the development of literacy, mathematics, and practical skills that supported both imperial administration and local economic development. Persian schools taught multiple languages and writing systems, preparing young men for careers in imperial service while maintaining connections to their local communities and traditions. The multilingual character of Persian administration required thousands of educated individuals who could serve as translators, scribes, and administrators. The religious policies of the Persian Empire represented perhaps its most distinctive contribution to human civilization. Rather than imposing Persian religious practices on conquered peoples, imperial policy actively supported the maintenance and development of local religious traditions. Temples throughout the empire received financial support from the imperial treasury, and local priesthoods were incorporated into the imperial administrative system as honoured partners rather than subordinated subjects. This religious tolerance was not simply a matter of political calculation. It reflected deep Persian convictions about the nature of truth and divine will. Zoroastrian theology taught that truth could manifest itself in many forms, and that different peoples might have different paths to understanding divine purposes. This theological foundation for religious tolerance was unique in the ancient world, and would influence Persian attitudes toward cultural diversity for over 2 millennia. The Persian imperial system reached its greatest extent under Darius the Great, who expanded Persian control from India to Egypt and from Central Asia to the Aegean Sea. At its peak, the Persian Empire controlled approximately 45 million square kilometres and governed perhaps 50 million people, roughly 1/3 of the world's population at that time. This was not just the largest empire that had ever existed. It was the first truly multicultural state in human history. The administrative challenges of governing such a vast and diverse territory required innovations in communication, transportation, and bureaucratic organisation that would influence governmental development for centuries. The Persian postal system, with its network of roads and relay stations, enabled rapid communication across the empire and served as a model for later imperial communication systems. The standardization of weights, measures, and currency facilitated trade and administration, while local variations in law and custom were preserved and respected. But the Persian Empire was not simply a political and administrative achievement. It was also a cultural synthesis that brought together artistic, intellectual, and religious traditions from across the known world. Persian courts became centers of learning where scholars from different civilizations could exchange ideas and develop new forms of knowledge. Greek philosophers, Indian mathematicians, Babylonian astronomers, and Egyptian physicians worked together under Persian patronage, creating intellectual achievements that would not have been possible within more culturally homogeneous societies. The Persian approach to cultural synthesis was evident in their art and architecture, which combined elements from many traditions into distinctive new forms. Persian metalwork incorporated techniques from across Central Asia, while Persian textiles used patterns and dyes from India and the Mediterranean. The Persian garden, with its careful integration of water, plants, and architectural elements, became a model for landscape design that would influence garden development from Spain to India. Persian music and poetry also reflected this cosmopolitan character. Persian musicians adapted instruments and musical theories from across the empire while developing distinctive Persian musical forms that would later influence musical development throughout the Islamic world. Persian poetry, with its emphasis on mystical themes and sophisticated metaphorical language, drew inspiration from many cultural sources while creating new literary forms that would define Persian cultural identity for centuries. The military organisation that protected and expanded this vast empire was equally sophisticated. Persian armies were composed of units drawn from every part of the empire, each contributing its distinctive military skills and traditions. Persian heavy cavalry, Scythian horse archers, Greek hoplites, and Indian war elephants were integrated into combined arms formations that could adapt to different terrains and tactical situations. The Persian navy, built largely by Phoenician and Greek shipwrights, became the largest naval force the world had ever seen. Persian naval campaigns extended Persian influence throughout the eastern Mediterranean and into the Black Sea, while Persian-sponsored expeditions explored the coasts of India and possibly even reached the Atlantic Ocean around the southern tip of Africa. The engineering capabilities that supported these military achievements were remarkable for their time. Persian siege engines incorporated mechanical principles derived from Mesopotamian and Greek sources, while Persian military engineers developed new techniques for constructing bridges, roads, and fortifications that enabled military operations across difficult terrain and vast distances. The logistical systems that supplied Persian armies were equally impressive. Persian quartermasters developed supply systems that could provision armies of hundreds of thousands of soldiers while on campaign, using a combination of pre-positioned supplies, local requisitions, and supply trains that followed armies across continents. These logistical achievements made possible military campaigns that would not be equalled until modern times. The Persian approach to warfare was characterized by careful planning, superior intelligence, and psychological sophistication that often made actual combat unnecessary. Persian diplomacy and intelligence networks provided detailed information about enemy capabilities and intentions, while Persian propaganda and negotiation often convinced enemies to submit without fighting. When warfare was necessary, Persian commanders typically sought decisive results that would minimize casualties and destruction while achieving strategic objectives. The Persian wars with Greece, beginning in 499 BCE with the Ionian Revolt and culminating in the great invasions of Darius and Xerxes, represented the first major challenge to Persian imperial expansion. These conflicts arose not from Persian aggressive ambitions but from the complexities of governing the Greek cities of western Anatolia, which had traditions of independence that conflicted with Persian administrative requirements. The famous battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, Salamis, and Plataea have been celebrated in Western historical tradition as victories of freedom over tyranny, but the reality was more complex. The Persian invasions of Greece were not attempts to destroy Greek civilization, but efforts to bring the Greek mainland within the Persian imperial system, where Greek cities could have enjoyed the same autonomy and prosperity as Greek cities already under Persian rule. The failure of these invasions marked the beginning of Persian imperial decline, but this decline was gradual and was punctuated by periods of renewal and recovery. Persian control over most of their territory remained effective for another century and a half, and Persian cultural influence continued to grow even as Persian political power waned. The eventual conquest of the Persian Empire by Alexander the Great in 334 to 331 BCE represented not the end of Persian civilization but its transformation and expansion. Alexander's conquest was made possible partly by Persian military weaknesses, but it was consolidated through Alexander's adoption of Persian administrative practices and cultural forms. Alexander himself adopted Persian royal customs and encouraged intermarriage between Greeks and Persians, creating a Hellenistic synthesis that preserved many Persian elements. The Hellenistic kingdoms that succeeded Alexander's empire continued to use Persian administrative methods and to patronize Persian cultural forms. The Seleucid Empire, which controlled most of the former Persian territories, was essentially a Greek-ruled Persian state that maintained Persian governmental structures while adding Greek cultural elements. Persian art, architecture, and literature continued to flourish under Hellenistic rule, and Persian religious and philosophical ideas influenced Hellenistic thought. The Parthian Empire, which emerged in the 3rd century BCE and gradually expelled the Seleucids from Iranian territory, represented a Persian political revival that lasted for nearly 5 centuries. The Parthians, who were originally a nomadic people from the northeastern edges of the Iranian world, adopted Persian governmental and cultural forms, while adding their own military innovations and political institutions. The Parthian political system was a feudal confederation that balanced royal authority with the autonomy of great noble families, creating a flexible governmental structure that could adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining overall unity. Parthian military organisation was built around heavy cavalry forces that proved superior to Roman legions in open terrain, enabling the Parthians to maintain their independence against repeated Roman invasions. Parthian cultural achievements were equally significant. Parthian architecture combined Persian and Hellenistic elements with new innovations that reflected nomadic traditions and practical requirements. Parthian art developed distinctive styles that influenced artistic development throughout Central Asia and the Eastern Mediterranean. Parthian literature, though little of it survives, apparently maintained and developed Persian literary traditions while incorporating new themes and forms. The Parthian period saw the development of new trade routes that connected China with the Mediterranean through Persian territory. The Silk Road, as this network came to be known, brought unprecedented prosperity to Persian cities and facilitated cultural exchange between East and West. Persian merchants and administrators played crucial roles in managing this trade, developing commercial practices and financial instruments that facilitated long-distance commerce. The religious developments of the Parthian period were equally important. Zoroastrianism continued to evolve, incorporating new theological concepts and ritual practices that reflected changing social conditions and cultural influences. Buddhism, introduced from India, gained adherents among Persian populations and influenced Persian religious thought. Christianity, which reached Persian territory in the 1st century CE, found receptive audiences and developed distinctive Persian characteristics. The Sasanian Empire, which replaced the Parthians in 224 CE, represented another Persian imperial revival that lasted for over 4 centuries. The Sasanians claimed descent from the Achaemenid Persians and sought to restore Persian imperial greatness through military conquest, administrative reform, and cultural renewal. Sasanian governmental institutions were more centralized than those of their Parthian predecessors, with a professional bureaucracy and a standing army that could project power more effectively throughout the empire and beyond. Sasanian military forces successfully resisted Byzantine expansion and launched their own invasions of Byzantine territory, while Sasanian control extended into Central Asia, India, and the Arabian Peninsula. The Sasanian period saw remarkable achievements in art, architecture, and literature. Sasanian palaces and temples combined Persian, Roman, and Indian influences into distinctive architectural forms that influenced building throughout the ancient world. Sasanian art, with its emphasis on royal symbolism and religious themes, established aesthetic standards that would influence Islamic art for centuries. Sasanian literature reached new heights of sophistication and creativity. The collection and compilation of ancient Persian oral traditions produced literary works that preserved pre-Islamic Persian culture while developing new forms of poetic and narrative expression. The Book of Kings, compiled by Fedowli in the 10th century CE, drew heavily on Sasanian literary sources and became the foundation of Persian literary culture. The Sasanian period also saw significant developments in Persian religious thought. Zoroastrianism was systematized and codified, with written texts that preserved ancient oral traditions and theological commentaries that developed new interpretations of traditional teachings. Manichaeanism, founded by the Persian prophet Mani in the 3rd century CE, represented a synthesis of Zoroastrian, Christian, and Buddhist ideas that gained adherents from Spain to China. The conquest of the Sasanian Empire by Arab Muslim forces in the 7th century CE marked another major transformation in Persian history, but once again this conquest led not to the destruction of Persian civilization, but to its renewal and expansion. The Arab conquerors, like Alexander before them, found Persian administrative and cultural institutions too useful to abandon, and gradually adopted many Persian practices while adding Islamic religious and legal elements. The early Islamic period saw the rapid conversion of Persian populations to Islam, but this conversion was accompanied by the Persianization of Islamic civilization. Persian administrators, scholars, and artists played crucial roles in developing Islamic governmental institutions, legal systems, and cultural forms. The Islamic empire that emerged from the Arab conquests was in many ways a Persian-administered Islamic state that preserved many Persian traditions within an Islamic framework. Persian influence on Islamic civilization was particularly evident in the Abbasid period, when the Islamic capital was moved from Damascus to Baghdad, and Persian families gained great influence in imperial administration. The Abbasid court adopted many Persian ceremonial practices and governmental procedures, while Persian scholars and administrators developed new forms of Islamic law, theology, and philosophy. The Persian literary renaissance that began in the 9th century CE produced some of the greatest works of world literature. Persian poets like Ferdowsi, Hafez, Sa'di, and Rumi created literary works that combined Islamic religious themes with Persian cultural traditions and universal human concerns. Persian poetry became the literary language of Islamic civilization from Turkey to India, influencing literary development throughout the Islamic world. Persian scientific and philosophical achievements during the Islamic period were equally remarkable. Persian mathematicians, astronomers, physicians, and philosophers made fundamental contributions to human knowledge that influenced intellectual development throughout Europe and Asia. The translation movement that preserved and transmitted Greek philosophical and scientific texts was largely a Persian-directed enterprise that ensured the survival of classical learning. The political fragmentation of the Islamic Empire in the 9th and 10th centuries created opportunities for Persian political revival. Independent and semi-independent Persian dynasties emerged throughout the Iranian world, each claiming legitimacy through descent from pre-Islamic Persian rulers or through Islamic religious authority. The Samanid dynasty in Central Asia and eastern Iran represented a Persian cultural renaissance that produced remarkable achievements in literature, art, and scholarship. Samanid courts patronized Persian poetry and learning while maintaining Islamic religious orthodoxy and political loyalty to the Abbasid Caliphate. The Samanid period saw the emergence of classical Persian literature and the development of Persian as a written literary language. The Buyid dynasty, which controlled western Iran and Iraq during the 10th and 11th centuries, represented another form of Persian political revival. The Buyids maintained nominal allegiance to the Abbasid caliphs, while exercising real political power throughout their territories. Buyid rulers patronized Persian culture and learning, while adapting Islamic governmental practices to Persian administrative traditions. The Ghaznavid dynasty, based in eastern Afghanistan, extended Persian cultural influence into India through military conquest and cultural patronage. Ghaznavid rulers maintained Persian court cultures while promoting Islamic religious institutions and supporting Persian literary development. The Ghaznavid period saw the emergence of Persian historical writing and the development of Persian prose literature. The Seljuk Empire, founded by Turkish nomads but administered largely by Persian bureaucrats, represented the culmination of this Persian political and cultural revival. Seljuk rulers adopted Persian court ceremonies and governmental practices while patronizing Persian learning and culture. The Seljuk period saw remarkable achievements in Persian architecture, with the development of new architectural forms that combined Persian, Islamic and Turkish elements. The Mongol invasions of the 13th century brought devastation to Persian lands, but once again Persian civilization proved remarkably resilient. The Mongol conquests were followed by cultural synthesis that preserved Persian traditions while incorporating Mongol political innovations and Chinese administrative practices. The Ilkhanate period saw the gradual Persianization of Mongol rule, with Mongol rulers adopting Persian culture and Islamic religion, while maintaining Mongol military and political institutions. Persian administrators and scholars played crucial roles in Ilkhanate government, while Persian artists and craftsmen created new forms of art that combined Persian, Mongol, and Chinese influences. The Timurid period, following the conquest of Tamerlane in the late 14th century, represented another Persian cultural renaissance. Timurid rulers, though descended from Central Asian nomads, became patrons of Persian culture and learning. Timurid courts in Samarkand and Herat became centres of Persian literary and artistic achievement that rivaled the greatest periods of Persian cultural development. The emergence of the Safavid Empire in 1501 CE marked the beginning of early modern Persian history and the establishment of Shia Islam as the distinctive religious identity of Persian civilization. The Safavids claimed descent from both Persian and Arab religious authorities and sought to create a unified Persian state that combined political independence with religious distinctiveness. Safavid governmental institutions represented a synthesis of Persian administrative traditions with Islamic religious authority and military innovations borrowed from Ottoman and Central Asian sources. The Safavid military included traditional Persian heavy cavalry, Turkmen tribal forces, and modern firearms units that enabled the Safavids to maintain their independence against both Ottoman and Uzbek expansion. The Safavid period saw remarkable achievements in Persian art and architecture. Safavid rulers built new capital cities that showcased Persian architectural capabilities while creating urban environments that supported commercial and cultural development. Isfahan, the Safavid capital built by Shah Abbas in the early 17th century, became one of the most beautiful cities in the world and a centre of international commerce and diplomacy. Safavid textile production achieved unprecedented levels of technical and artistic sophistication. Persian carpets, silks, and other textiles became luxury goods sought after throughout Europe and Asia, while the techniques and patterns developed by Safavid craftsmen influenced textile production throughout the Islamic world. The Safavid period also saw important developments in Persian philosophy and religious thought. Safavid religious scholars developed new forms of Shia theology that distinguished Persian Islam from Sunni Islamic traditions while maintaining connections to broader Islamic intellectual developments. Persian philosophical schools combined Islamic religious thought with Persian mystical traditions and Greek philosophical influences. The decline and fall of the Safavid Empire in the early 18th century was followed by a period of political fragmentation and foreign intervention that lasted until the emergence of the Qajar dynasty in the late 18th century. This period saw invasions by Afghan, Turkish and Russian forces, each of which brought temporary political control but failed to establish lasting governmental institutions. The Qajar period represented Persian adaptation to the challenges of the modern world, including European colonial expansion, new military technologies, and changing economic relationships. Qajar rulers sought to maintain Persian independence while adopting European governmental and military innovations that could strengthen Persian capabilities. The Qajar period saw significant cultural developments, including the emergence of modern Persian literature, the development of Persian journalism, and the beginning of Persian engagement with European intellectual traditions. Persian scholars and administrators travelled to Europe for education and training, while European advisors and technicians came to Persia to assist in modernization efforts. The Constitutional Revolution of 1905 to 1911 represented Persian adaptation of European democratic ideas to Persian political traditions and Islamic religious principles. The constitutional movement sought to limit royal authority through elected assemblies and written constitutions while maintaining Persian cultural identity and Islamic religious values. The Pahlavi period, beginning with Reza Shah's rise to power in 1925, represented systematic efforts to modernize Persian society through centralized governmental authority and European-inspired reforms. Pahlavi modernization programs included industrial development, educational expansion, women's rights, and cultural reforms that sought to strengthen Persian national identity while adopting modern technologies and institutions. The Pahlavi period saw remarkable economic and social development, including the growth of modern cities, the expansion of transportation and communication networks, and the development of modern industrial capacity. Persian oil resources became the foundation for economic development programs that transformed Persian society while creating new relationships with international markets and foreign governments. The Islamic Revolution of 1979 represented another transformation in Persian history, combining traditional Persian political concepts with modern revolutionary ideologies and Islamic religious authority. The Islamic Republic that emerged from the revolution sought to create governmental institutions that combined Islamic religious principles with Persian cultural traditions and modern political practices. The post-revolutionary period has seen continued development of Persian cultural institutions and intellectual traditions while facing the challenges of international isolation, economic sanctions, and regional conflicts. Contemporary Persian culture continues to develop distinctive forms of art, literature, and thought that build upon 26 centuries of Persian cultural development while responding to modern conditions and opportunities. Throughout these 26 centuries of development, Persian civilization has demonstrated remarkable continuity and adaptability. Persian cultural institutions have survived foreign conquests, political upheavals, and social transformations while maintaining distinctive characteristics that define Persian identity. Persian contributions to human civilization in the areas of governance, culture, religion, and learning continue to influence world development. The Persian approach to cultural synthesis, first demonstrated in the Achaemenid Empire, continues to characterize Persian civilization. Persian culture has consistently absorbed influences from many sources while maintaining distinctive Persian characteristics and contributing to broader cultural developments. This ability to combine tradition with innovation has enabled Persian civilization to remain vital and creative through changing historical circumstances. Persian governmental traditions, emphasizing justice, tolerance, and efficient administration, have influenced political development throughout the world. Persian concepts of imperial governance, religious tolerance, and cultural autonomy provided models for later empires and continue to influence contemporary discussions of governmental authority and cultural rights. Persian cultural achievements in literature, art, and thought have enriched world civilization and continue to inspire creative work throughout the world. Persian poetry, with its emphasis on mystical themes and sophisticated artistic techniques, has influenced literary development from Europe to India. Persian art and architecture have provided aesthetic models that continue to influence contemporary design and creative expression. Persian contributions to human learning in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy have advanced human knowledge and understanding. Persian scholars and scientists have made fundamental discoveries that have influenced intellectual development throughout the world while preserving and transmitting classical learning that might otherwise have been lost. The Persian experience demonstrates the possibilities and challenges of creating lasting civilization in a diverse and changing world. Persian success in maintaining cultural continuity while adapting to new circumstances provides lessons about the relationship between tradition and innovation that remain relevant to contemporary challenges. Persian civilization represents one of humanity's great achievements in creating social institutions, cultural forms, and intellectual traditions that serve human needs while expressing human creativity and aspiration. The Persian contribution to world civilization continues to develop and expand, offering insights and inspiration for understanding the possibilities of human achievement and cultural development. As we reflect on these 26 centuries of Persian civilization, we see not just the rise and fall of empires or the succession of dynasties, but the continuous development of human capabilities and aspirations. Persian civilization demonstrates that human societies can maintain their distinctive identities while contributing to broader human development, that cultural traditions can evolve and adapt while preserving their essential characteristics, and that human creativity can find expression in countless forms while serving universal human needs and values. The story of Persian civilization continues to unfold as contemporary Persian society faces the challenges and opportunities of the modern world while drawing upon the wisdom and experience of 26 centuries of cultural development. In this continuing story, we find both inspiration for human possibilities and practical guidance for addressing the complex challenges of creating just, prosperous, and culturally rich societies in our interconnected world. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the ancient cities of Persia are touched by the first light of day, the continuity of Persian civilization becomes most apparent. In the gardens of Isfahan, where water still flows through channels laid out by Safavid engineers, in the ruins of Persepolis, where stone carvings still proclaim the unity of diverse peoples, in the poetry of Hafez still recited by lovers and mystics, we find the enduring achievement of Persian civilization, the demonstration that human societies can create beauty, justice, and meaning that transcends the limitations of any single historical moment and speaks to the deepest aspirations of the human spirit. The architectural precision of Persepolis reveals the extraordinary technical capabilities that supported Persian imperial grandeur. The massive stone platform that forms the foundation of the ceremonial complex covers 13 hectares and rises 16 meters above the surrounding plain. This platform was constructed using perfectly fitted limestone blocks, some weighing over 30 tons, that were quarried from sites 25 kilometers away and transported using techniques that required sophisticated understanding of mechanical engineering and logistics coordination. The Great Staircase that provided access to the Apadana Audience Hall demonstrates mathematical precision that rivals modern construction standards. The staircase consists of 111 steps, each measuring 6 meters in width and 11 centimeters in height, creating an ascent so gradual that horses could climb it while maintaining their dignity and composure. The uniform dimensions and perfect alignment of these steps required surveying techniques and construction coordination that anticipated Renaissance architectural achievements by over 2 millennia. The column construction at Persepolis pushed ancient engineering capabilities to remarkable limits. The Apadana Hall contained 36 columns, each standing 19 meters tall and supporting a cedar wood roof that spanned an area of 1,000 square meters without intermediate supports. These columns were carved from single blocks of stone that were shaped with precision tools and raised into position using lever systems and earthen ramps that required moving hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of soil. The capital cities that served as administrative centres throughout the Persian Empire were connected by a road network that totalled over 25,000 kilometres of maintained highways. The royal road from Sardis to Susa included 111 posting stations spaced at intervals of 15 to 30 kilometres, each equipped with fresh horses, supplies and accommodations for imperial messengers and officials. This communication system enabled messages to travel the 2,500-kilometre distance in 7 to 10 days, compared to 3 months for ordinary travellers. The engineering specifications for Persian roads included standardised construction methods that ensured consistent quality across diverse geographical conditions. Road surfaces were paved with fitted stones in mountainous regions, constructed with gravel and clay in plains areas, and elevated on causeways through marshy terrain. Bridges were built using stone foundations and cedar superstructures that could support heavily loaded wagon trains while accommodating seasonal flooding and weather variations. Persian hydraulic engineering achieved remarkable sophistication in the development of Qanat irrigation systems that brought water from mountain sources to desert cities and agricultural areas. These underground channels, some extending over 40 kilometres in length, were constructed using precisely calculated gradients that enabled water flow while preventing erosion and siltation. The Qanat system required surveying techniques that could maintain uniform slopes across vast distances using only manual instruments and mathematical calculation. The construction of Qanat systems involved specialised workers who understood both hydraulic engineering principles and subterranean construction techniques. Master Qanat builders could calculate optimal channel routes, design ventilation systems for underground work crews, and create maintenance access points that enabled ongoing repairs and improvements. The social organisation required for Qanat construction included financing systems, labour coordination, and water rights management that created cooperative institutions lasting for centuries. Agricultural productivity in Persian territories was enhanced by systematic crop rotation programs and selective breeding projects that increased yields while maintaining soil fertility. Persian agricultural administrators maintained detailed records of crop varieties, planting schedules, and harvest yields that enabled systematic improvement of farming techniques. The introduction of new crops from conquered territories created agricultural diversity that supported population growth and economic development throughout the empire. Persian livestock breeding programs achieved remarkable results in developing horse breeds specifically adapted for military and administrative purposes. Persian horses were bred for endurance, speed, and responsiveness qualities that made them ideal for cavalry service and long-distance communication. These breeding programs maintained genetic records and breeding protocols that anticipated modern animal husbandry techniques while producing animals that were sought after throughout the ancient world. The Persian military organisation combined professional training with cultural integration in ways that created unprecedented effectiveness and loyalty. The Immortals underwent rigorous physical and tactical training that included weapons proficiency, unit coordination, and leadership development. These elite soldiers were also educated in Persian law, administrative procedures, and cultural traditions that prepared them for civilian careers after military service, creating institutional continuity between military and administrative functions. Persian military logistics achieved remarkable sophistication in supplying armies that sometimes numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Campaign supply systems included prepositioned depots, contracted local suppliers, and organised foraging that could sustain large armies while maintaining discipline and local population cooperation. Persian quartermasters developed standardized equipment specifications and maintenance procedures that ensured consistent military capability across diverse geographical and climatic conditions. The Persian approach to siege warfare emphasized engineering preparation and psychological pressure rather than direct assault. Persian siege engineers developed specialized equipment including battering rams, siege towers, and mining techniques that could breach the strongest fortifications of their era. Persian commanders typically offered generous surrender terms that made prolonged resistance seem futile, while promising fair treatment for populations that submitted peacefully. Persian naval capabilities expanded dramatically during the Achaemenid period through alliances with experienced maritime peoples, including Phoenicians, Greeks, and Egyptians. The Persian fleet at its peak included over 1,200 ships ranging from fast scouting vessels to large troop transports capable of carrying entire cavalry units with their horses and equipment. Persian naval operations extended throughout the eastern Mediterranean and into the Black Sea while supporting overland campaigns through coordinated amphibious operations. The administrative complexity of governing the Persian Empire required bureaucratic innovations that influenced governmental development for millennia. Persian provincial administration included separate hierarchies for civil government, military command, and religious affairs, with overlapping jurisdictions that prevented any individual from accumulating excessive power while ensuring effective coordination of imperial policies. Persian record-keeping systems included multilingual documentation in Aramaic, Elamite, and Old Persian scripts that enabled communication across diverse populations while preserving local cultural traditions. Imperial archives maintained comprehensive records of laws, treaties, administrative correspondence, and financial accounts that provided institutional memory and legal precedent for governmental decision-making. The Persian legal system combined written law codes with local customary practices in ways that provided consistent justice while respecting cultural diversity. Persian judges received training in imperial law and regional legal traditions, creating judicial systems that could resolve disputes between parties from different cultural backgrounds while maintaining standards of evidence and procedural fairness that influenced legal development throughout the ancient world. Persian taxation systems achieved remarkable efficiency through systematic assessment procedures and collection methods that minimized economic disruption while providing reliable imperial revenues. Tax assessments were based on systematic surveys of agricultural productivity, commercial activity, and population resources that enabled fair and predictable tax obligations. Persian tax collectors were professional administrators rather than private contractors, creating governmental accountability and preventing the abuses that characterized taxation systems in other ancient empires. The Persian approach to religious administration demonstrated sophisticated understanding of the relationship between political authority and spiritual beliefs. Persian imperial policy actively supported local religious traditions through financial contributions, temple construction projects, and protection of religious freedoms. This support was not merely political calculation, but reflected genuine Persian theological convictions about the diverse manifestations of divine truth and the importance of maintaining cosmic harmony through proper religious observances. Persian religious tolerance extended to active cooperation with local priesthoods and religious authorities who were incorporated into imperial administrative systems as honoured partners rather than subordinated subjects. Persian governors consulted with religious leaders on legal and administrative matters, while local priests received imperial appointments and participated in governmental ceremonies that expressed both local cultural identity and imperial political unity. The Persian concept of kingship combined practical governmental authority with religious and cosmic significance that elevated royal authority while constraining it through moral and theological obligations. Persian kings were expected to embody truth-telling, justice, and protection of their subjects as divine mandates that could not be violated without cosmic consequences. This theological foundation for political authority influenced governmental theory throughout the ancient world and anticipated later developments in divine right monarchy and constitutional limitation of royal power. Persian court ceremonies reflected this understanding of kingship through elaborate rituals that demonstrated both royal authority and royal responsibility. The New Year ceremonies at Persepolis included representatives from every province bringing tribute and gifts that symbolise their participation in the imperial community while acknowledging Persian leadership. These ceremonies were carefully choreographed to demonstrate imperial diversity and unity, while emphasising the king's role as protector and benefactor of all his subjects. The artistic programme that decorated Persian royal buildings represented one of humanity's most ambitious attempts to create visual expressions of political and religious ideals. The reliefs at Persepolis included detailed representations of tribute bearers from every corner of the empire, each depicted in authentic costume and bearing characteristic products of their regions. These artistic works required collaboration between Persian artists and craftsmen from throughout the empire, creating aesthetic syntheses that combined diverse cultural traditions into coherent artistic statements. Persian metalworking achieved technical and artistic levels that influenced decorative arts throughout the ancient world. Persian goldsmiths developed new techniques for creating intricate jewellery, ceremonial vessels and decorative weapons that combined precious metals with gemstones and enamel work of extraordinary sophistication. Persian metalworking techniques were transmitted throughout the empire and beyond, influencing artistic development from Europe to Central Asia. Persian textile production created luxury goods that were sought after throughout the known world. Persian weavers developed new dyeing techniques that produced colours of unprecedented brilliance and permanence, while creating pattern designs that combined geometric precision with naturalistic representation. Persian carpets and silks became standards of luxury that influenced textile production throughout Europe and Asia, while establishing commercial networks that connected distant regions through shared aesthetic preferences. Persian garden design represented revolutionary approaches to landscape architecture that integrated natural and artificial elements in ways that created environments of extraordinary beauty and symbolic meaning. Persian gardens included water features, plant arrangements, and architectural elements that were designed according to geometric principles while incorporating religious and philosophical symbolism. The Persian garden concept influenced landscape design throughout the Islamic world and into medieval Europe. The Persian approach to urban planning created cities that balanced practical requirements with aesthetic and symbolic considerations. Persian cities included residential districts, commercial areas, and administrative centres that were organised according to social hierarchies while providing public amenities including water supplies, sewage systems, and recreational facilities. Persian urban design influenced city planning throughout the ancient world while establishing models for integrated urban development. Persian educational institutions provided systematic instruction in literacy, mathematics, and practical skills that supported both imperial administration and economic development. Persian schools taught multiple languages and writing systems while providing vocational training that prepared students for careers in government, commerce, and crafts. Persian educational methods emphasized memorization and practice while encouraging creative thinking and problem-solving capabilities. Persian contributions to mathematical knowledge included advances in arithmetic, geometry, and astronomical calculation that influenced scientific development throughout the ancient world. Persian mathematicians developed new methods for solving practical problems, including architectural design, engineering construction, and commercial calculation. Persian mathematical knowledge was preserved and transmitted through Islamic civilization, contributing to European mathematical development during the medieval period. Persian astronomical observations produced accurate calendars and navigational systems that supported both religious observance and practical activities. Persian astronomers maintained systematic records of celestial movements that enabled prediction of eclipses, seasonal changes, and optimal times for agricultural and commercial activities. Persian astronomical knowledge influenced calendar development throughout the ancient world, while contributing to advances in mathematical astronomy. Persian medical knowledge combined systematic observation with empirical treatment methods that achieved remarkable therapeutic success. Persian physicians understood anatomy, disease processes, and pharmaceutical preparation with precision that was based on centuries of accumulated experience and systematic study. Persian medical practices influenced healing traditions throughout the ancient world, while establishing educational institutions that trained physicians according to standardized curricula and ethical principles. The Persian approach to international diplomacy established precedents for peaceful conflict resolution and cooperative interstate relationships that influenced diplomatic practice for centuries. Persian diplomacy emphasized negotiation and compromise rather than military confrontation, while offering mutual benefits that made peaceful relationships more attractive than warfare. Persian diplomatic practices included systematic intelligence gathering, careful negotiation procedures, and treaty implementation that created stable international relationships. Persian commercial practices created financial instruments and business methods that facilitated long-distance trade while establishing legal frameworks for commercial disputes and contract enforcement. Persian merchants developed credit systems, partnership agreements, and risk-sharing arrangements that enabled commercial ventures spanning continents and involving participants from different cultural and legal traditions. Persian commercial law influenced business practice throughout the ancient world while establishing precedents for international commercial relationships. The collapse of the Achaemenid Empire under Alexander's conquests demonstrated both Persian strengths and weaknesses, while creating opportunities for cultural synthesis that preserved Persian achievements within new political frameworks. Persian administrative institutions proved so effective that Alexander and his successors adopted them with minimal modifications, while Persian cultural forms continued to flourish under Hellenistic patronage. The Hellenistic synthesis that emerged from Alexander's conquest created new forms of art, literature, and thought that combined Persian, Greek, and other cultural elements into distinctive hybrid traditions. Greek-ruled kingdoms in former Persian territories maintained Persian governmental structures, while adding Greek educational and cultural institutions, creating cosmopolitan societies that preserved and developed diverse cultural traditions. The Parthian revival of Persian political independence demonstrated the resilience of Persian cultural identity and the adaptability of Persian governmental institutions to changing political circumstances. Parthian rulers combined nomadic military traditions with Persian administrative practices while patronizing Persian cultural development and maintaining Persian religious traditions. Parthian military innovations included heavy cavalry techniques that proved superior to Roman military methods in appropriate terrain conditions. Parthian cavalry forces combined nomadic mobility with Persian discipline and equipment, creating military capabilities that enabled successful resistance to Roman expansion while maintaining Persian territorial independence for nearly 500 years. Parthian cultural achievements included architectural developments that combined Persian, Hellenistic, and nomadic influences into distinctive building styles that influenced construction throughout Central Asia and the Eastern Mediterranean. Parthian palaces and temples demonstrated engineering capabilities and aesthetic sensibilities that maintained Persian cultural traditions while adapting to new political and social conditions. The Parthian period saw significant developments in Persian literature and religious thought that preserved pre-Islamic Persian culture while incorporating new influences from throughout the expanded Persian world. Parthian courts patronized oral literary traditions that would later be recorded in written form, while Parthian religious institutions developed new theological concepts that influenced both Zoroastrian and early Christian thought. Parthian trade relationships extended Persian commercial influence throughout Central Asia and into China, creating economic connections that supported cultural exchange and technological transfer. Parthian control of Silk Road routes enabled Persian merchants to profit from trans-Asian commerce while facilitating communication between distant civilizations and contributing to the development of international commercial relationships. The Sasanian Empire represented the culmination of pre-Islamic Persian political and cultural development, with governmental institutions, artistic achievements, and intellectual accomplishments that influenced civilizational development throughout Europe and Asia. Sasanian rulers created centralized administrative systems that combined Persian traditions with innovations borrowed from Roman and other sources, producing governmental efficiency that surpassed contemporary European and Asian political organizations. Sasanian military organization included professional standing armies, equipped with advanced weapons and trained according to systematic tactical doctrines. Sasanian military forces successfully resisted Byzantine expansion, while launching their own campaigns that temporarily occupied large portions of Byzantine territory. Sasanian military engineering included siege techniques and fortification construction that represented the most advanced military technology of their era. Sasanian artistic achievements reached unprecedented levels of technical sophistication and aesthetic refinement. Sasanian architects designed palaces and temples that combined monumental scale with intricate decorative details, while Sasanian sculptors and painters created works that influenced artistic development throughout the ancient world. Sasanian crafts, including metalwork, textiles, and ceramics, established aesthetic standards that continued to influence Islamic art for centuries. Sasanian religious developments included the codification of Zoroastrian theology and ritual practice that created systematic religious institutions capable of maintaining doctrinal consistency while adapting to changing social conditions. Sasanian religious scholars compiled written texts that preserved ancient oral traditions while developing new theological interpretations that addressed contemporary spiritual and ethical concerns. The Sasanian period saw remarkable intellectual achievements, including advances in philosophy, science, and literature, that built upon earlier Persian traditions while incorporating influences from throughout the known world. Sasanian scholars translated and preserved classical Greek texts while developing original contributions to human knowledge that influenced intellectual development throughout Europe and Asia. Sasanian economic development included technological innovations in agriculture, manufacturing, and commerce that supported population growth and urban expansion throughout Persian territories. Sasanian agricultural improvements included new irrigation techniques and crop varieties that increased productivity while supporting larger populations. Sasanian manufacturing achieved remarkable quality standards in textiles, metalwork, and other luxury goods that were exported throughout the known world. The Arab conquest of the Sasanian Empire represented another transformation in Persian history, but Persian cultural institutions and administrative capabilities proved too valuable to abandon. Arab conquerors gradually adopted Persian governmental practices, while Persian administrators, scholars, and artists played crucial roles in developing Islamic civilization. The early Islamic period saw rapid Persian conversion to Islam, but this conversion was accompanied by the Persianization of Islamic institutions and cultural forms. Persian influence on Islamic civilization was particularly evident in governmental administration, legal development, and cultural expression, creating an Islamic civilization that preserved many Persian characteristics within an Islamic religious framework. Persian contributions to Islamic intellectual development included translation programs that preserved and transmitted classical Greek and Persian learning while creating new forms of Islamic philosophy, theology, and science. Persian scholars played leading roles in developing Islamic law, systematizing Islamic theology, and advancing scientific knowledge that influenced intellectual development throughout the Islamic world and beyond. The emergence of independent Persian dynasties during the fragmentation of the Islamic Empire demonstrated the continuing vitality of Persian political and cultural traditions. These dynasties combined Islamic religious legitimacy with Persian cultural identity, while patronizing Persian literary and artistic development that established classical Persian culture as the dominant cultural form throughout much of the Islamic world. The Samanid dynasty in eastern Iran and Central Asia patronized Persian literary development that produced some of the greatest works of world literature. Samanid courts supported poets and scholars who created the foundations of classical Persian literature, while maintaining Islamic religious orthodoxy and political stability throughout their territories. The development of classical Persian literature during the Islamic period represented one of humanity's great cultural achievements. Persian poets, including Ferdowsi, Hafez, Sa'di, and Rumi, created literary works that combined Persian cultural traditions with Islamic religious themes and universal human concerns, producing poetry and prose that influenced literary development throughout the Islamic world and beyond. Persian literary forms, including the epic, the lyric, and mystical poetry, became models for literary expression throughout the Islamic world. Persian literary techniques, including complex metaphorical systems, sophisticated prosody, and narrative structures, influenced literary development from Turkey to India, while establishing Persian as the literary language of Islamic civilization. Persian mystical poetry developed distinctive forms that expressed spiritual themes through elaborate metaphorical systems that combined Persian cultural symbols with Islamic theological concepts. Persian mystical poets created literary works that served both aesthetic and spiritual functions, while developing new forms of religious expression that influenced Islamic mysticism throughout the world. Persian historical writing during the Islamic period created comprehensive accounts of Persian and Islamic history, that preserved cultural memory while developing new forms of historical analysis and narrative technique. Persian historians combined systematic research with literary skill, producing historical works that served both scholarly and cultural functions while establishing precedents for historical writing throughout the Islamic world. Persian scientific achievements during the Islamic period included fundamental contributions to mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and natural philosophy that advanced human knowledge while preserving and transmitting classical learning. Persian scientists developed new mathematical techniques, made accurate astronomical observations, advanced medical knowledge, and created philosophical systems that influenced intellectual development throughout Europe and Asia. The Ghaznavid and Seljuk period saw the extension of Persian cultural influence into India and the further development of Persian governmental and military institutions. These dynasties combined Turkic military leadership with Persian administrative expertise while patronizing Persian cultural development and maintaining Islamic religious institutions. Seljuk architectural achievements included the development of new building techniques and decorative styles that combined Persian, Islamic, and Turkish influences. Seljuk architects designed mosques, palaces, and other structures that represented some of the finest achievements of Islamic architecture, while maintaining distinctively Persian aesthetic characteristics. The Mongol invasions brought temporary disruption to Persian lands, but Persian administrative capabilities and cultural traditions proved essential to Mongol governance. Mongol rulers gradually adopted Persian governmental practices while Persian administrators helped create the administrative systems that governed the Mongol Empire. The Ilkhanate period saw the gradual Islamization and Persianization of Mongol rule, with Mongol rulers converting to Islam and adopting Persian court practices while maintaining Mongol military and political institutions. This cultural synthesis created new forms of art and architecture that combined Persian, Islamic, Mongol, and Chinese influences. The Timurid period represented another Persian cultural renaissance, with Timurid rulers patronizing Persian literature, art, and learning, while creating new forms of architectural and artistic expression. Timurid courts became centers of Persian culture that rivaled earlier periods of Persian cultural achievement, while contributing to developments that would influence later Islamic civilization. Timurid architectural achievements included palace and mosque construction that combined monumental scale with intricate decorative details. Timurid architects developed new structural techniques and decorative styles that influenced building construction throughout the Islamic world, while creating distinctive architectural forms that expressed both Islamic religious themes and Persian cultural identity. The Safavid Empire established Shia Islam as the distinctive religious identity of Persian civilization, while creating governmental institutions that combined Persian administrative traditions with Islamic religious authority. Safavid rulers claimed both political and religious legitimacy while patronizing Persian culture and establishing Iran as an independent political entity, capable of resisting Ottoman and Central Asian expansion. Safavid military organization combined traditional Persian governmental institutions with new military technologies, including firearms and artillery, that enabled successful resistance to foreign invasion while maintaining internal political stability. Safavid armies included cavalry forces drawn from tribal populations, infantry units equipped with modern weapons, and artillery corps trained by European military advisors. Safavid economic development included technological innovations and commercial expansion that created unprecedented prosperity throughout Persian territories. Safavid rulers encouraged manufacturing development, supported international trade, and patronized technological innovation that enhanced agricultural and industrial productivity, while creating employment and tax revenues that supported governmental and cultural activities. The construction of Isfahan as the Safavid capital represented one of the great achievements of Islamic urban planning and architecture. Isfahan included palaces, mosques, markets, and residential districts that were designed according to comprehensive planning principles, while creating urban environments that supported both governmental functions and economic activities. The Shah Abbas complex in Isfahan included the Maidani Shah, a public square covering nearly 9 hectares that served as the center of urban life and governmental ceremony. This square was surrounded by the Shah Mosque, the Sheikh Lotf Allah Mosque, the Ali Kapu Palace, and commercial arcades that created an integrated urban environment of extraordinary beauty and functionality. Safavid architectural achievements extended throughout Persian territories with the construction of mosques, palaces, bridges, and other structures that combined traditional Persian building techniques with new decorative styles and structural innovations. Safavid architects developed distinctive Persian Islamic architectural forms that influenced building construction throughout the Islamic world, while creating some of the most beautiful buildings ever constructed. Safavid decorative arts, including carpet weaving, ceramic production, and metalwork, achieved unprecedented levels of technical and artistic sophistication. Safavid craftsmen created luxury goods that were sought after throughout Europe and Asia, while developing new production techniques and aesthetic standards that continued to influence Persian crafts for centuries. Safavid textile production created Persian carpets that became synonymous with luxury and artistic excellence throughout the world. Persian carpet weavers developed new patterns, dyeing techniques, and weaving methods that produced textiles of extraordinary beauty and technical accomplishment, while establishing Persian carpets as among the most prized luxury goods in international commerce. The Safavid period saw important developments in Persian philosophy and religious thought that created distinctive Persian approaches to Islamic theology and mystical practice. Safavid religious scholars developed new forms of Shia theology, while Persian philosophers created systematic philosophical works that combined Islamic, Persian, and classical influences. Safavid educational institutions included seminaries and schools that provided systematic instruction in Islamic law, theology, and philosophy, while maintaining Persian cultural traditions and language. These institutions trained religious and administrative personnel who staffed governmental and religious institutions throughout Persian territories, while preserving and developing Persian intellectual traditions. The decline of Safavid power in the early 18th century led to political fragmentation and foreign intervention, but Persian cultural institutions continued to develop and adapt to changing circumstances. The Qajar period saw efforts to modernize Persian governmental and military institutions while maintaining Persian cultural identity and independence. Qajar modernization efforts included administrative reforms, military reorganization, and educational development that sought to strengthen Persian capabilities while adapting to changing international conditions. Qajar rulers employed European advisors and sent Persian students to Europe for education, while maintaining traditional Persian cultural institutions and practices. The Constitutional Revolution represented Persian adaptation of European democratic ideas to Persian political traditions and Islamic religious principles. The constitutional movement sought to create governmental institutions that combined popular participation with traditional authority, while maintaining Persian cultural identity and Islamic religious values. The Pahlavi period saw systematic modernization efforts that transformed Persian society through industrial development, educational expansion, and social reforms. Pahlavi modernization programs achieved remarkable economic and social development while creating tensions between traditional and modern elements of Persian society. Contemporary Persian civilization continues to develop distinctive cultural forms that build upon 26 centuries of Persian cultural achievement while responding to modern conditions and global influences. Persian culture maintains its characteristic emphasis on poetry, art, and learning while adapting to contemporary technologies and international relationships. The enduring achievement of Persian civilization lies in its demonstration that human societies can maintain cultural continuity while adapting to changing circumstances, that diverse populations can be united through just governance and cultural tolerance, and that human creativity can find expression in countless forms while serving universal human needs and aspirations. Persian civilization continues to offer insights and inspiration for understanding the possibilities of human cultural development and the creation of just and beautiful societies. The technical sophistication of Persian water management systems extended far beyond the famous qanats to encompass comprehensive watershed management that included reservoir construction, flood control systems, and agricultural water distribution networks that supported millions of inhabitants across arid and semi-arid regions. The Abanbar, or water reservoirs built throughout Persian cities, could store over 50,000 cubic meters of water in underground chambers that maintained consistent temperatures and prevented evaporation losses during extended dry periods. These water storage facilities incorporated sophisticated engineering principles, including structural arch construction, that could support massive loads while using minimal materials. The dome construction techniques developed for Abanbar systems influenced architectural development throughout the Islamic world, while creating building methods that achieved maximum structural strength with optimal material efficiency. Persian engineers understood principles of structural mechanics that enabled them to construct unsupported spans of remarkable dimensions using traditional materials and construction techniques. The cooling systems integrated into Persian water storage facilities achieved temperature control through passive solar design principles that anticipated modern sustainable architecture concepts. Underground storage chambers were designed with precise dimensions and orientations that maintained water temperatures at 15 to 20 degrees below ambient air temperature through natural convection and thermal mass effects. These cooling systems operated without external energy inputs, while providing reliable temperature control throughout seasonal climate variations. Persian innovations in metallurgy included the development of crucible steel production techniques that created blades of legendary sharpness and durability. Persian steel production centers in Kerman and other locations developed smelting methods that achieved carbon control and alloying precision that would not be equaled until modern industrial steel production. Persian steel was exported throughout the ancient and medieval worlds, establishing Persian metallurgy as the standard for quality and technical excellence. The Persian approach to steel production included systematic quality control procedures that tested raw materials, monitored smelting processes, and evaluated finished products according to standardized performance criteria. Persian steel smiths understood the relationship between carbon content, heat treatment, and mechanical properties with precision that enabled them to produce steel products optimized for specific applications including weapons, tools, and architectural components. Persian mining operations achieved remarkable scale and sophistication through systematic geological surveys and engineering techniques that enabled extraction of minerals from challenging geological formations. Persian miners developed underground excavation methods that could safely extract materials from depths of over 200 meters while providing adequate ventilation and structural support for extensive underground workings. The silver mines of Panjshir and other locations produced precious metals that supported Persian monetary systems and international trade relationships. Persian mining engineers developed ore processing techniques that achieved extraction efficiencies comparable to modern industrial mining, while using only traditional tools and manual labour. These mining operations employed thousands of workers and produced silver output that influenced monetary systems throughout Europe and Asia. Persian ceramic production achieved technical and artistic standards that influenced pottery development throughout the ancient and medieval worlds. Persian potters developed glazing techniques that produced colours and surface effects of extraordinary brilliance and durability, while creating decorative systems that combined geometric precision with naturalistic representation. Persian ceramics were exported throughout the known world and established aesthetic standards that influenced ceramic production for centuries. The technical innovations developed by Persian ceramic artists included kiln construction methods that achieved precise temperature control and atmospheric management necessary for advanced glazing techniques. Persian potters understood chemical relationships between clay bodies, glazing materials, and firing conditions with precision that enabled systematic production of ceramic works that combined functional utility with artistic excellence. Persian bookbinding and manuscript production created some of the most beautiful and durable books ever made. Persian bookbinders developed binding techniques using leather, paper, and decorative materials that could preserve manuscripts for centuries while creating books that were works of art in themselves. Persian manuscript production combined calligraphy, illustration, and bookbinding into integrated artistic achievements that influenced book production throughout the Islamic world. The paper production techniques developed in Persian workshops achieved quality standards that made Persian paper the preferred material for important documents and literary works throughout the medieval world. Persian paper makers developed production methods using local materials that created writing surfaces of exceptional smoothness and durability, while achieving cost efficiency that made books accessible to broader populations. Persian calligraphy developed distinctive scripts and decorative systems that became standard forms for Arabic and Persian language writing throughout the Islamic world. Persian calligraphers created letter forms and compositional principles that combined legibility with artistic beauty, while developing teaching methods that preserved traditional techniques across generations of practitioners. The mathematical achievements of Persian scholars during the Islamic period included fundamental contributions to algebra, geometry, and trigonometry that advanced human mathematical knowledge while preserving and transmitting classical mathematical texts. Persian mathematicians like al-Khwarizmi developed algebraic methods that enabled systematic solution of practical problems while creating mathematical notation systems that influenced mathematical development throughout Europe and Asia. Persian contributions to astronomical knowledge included systematic observations and mathematical calculations that improved calendar systems and navigational techniques throughout the medieval world. Persian astronomers constructed observatories equipped with precision instruments that enabled accurate measurement of celestial positions and movements, while developing mathematical models that predicted astronomical phenomena with remarkable accuracy. The astronomical tables compiled by Persian astronomers were used throughout the Islamic world and into medieval Europe for calendar calculations, astrological predictions, and navigational planning. These tables represented centuries of systematic observation and mathematical calculation that achieved accuracy levels not surpassed until the development of modern astronomical instruments and calculation methods. Persian medical achievements during the medieval period included comprehensive medical texts that systematized medical knowledge while developing new therapeutic techniques and pharmaceutical preparations. Persian physicians like Rhazes and Avicenna created medical works that served as standard medical textbooks throughout Europe and Asia for centuries, while advancing medical knowledge through systematic observation and clinical experience. Persian hospitals achieved organizational and therapeutic standards that provided models for medical institution development throughout the medieval world. Persian hospital administration included systematic patient care procedures, medical education programs, and pharmaceutical services that created comprehensive healthcare delivery systems that served both wealthy and poor populations. The pharmaceutical knowledge developed by Persian physicians included systematic understanding of medicinal plant properties and preparation techniques that enabled effective treatment of various medical conditions. Persian pharmacists created comprehensive pharmaceutical texts that describe medicinal plants, preparation methods, and therapeutic applications while establishing quality control procedures that ensured pharmaceutical effectiveness and safety. Persian contributions to chemistry included experimental methods and theoretical understanding that advanced chemical knowledge while developing practical applications in metallurgy, medicine, and manufacturing. Persian chemists like Jabir ibn Hayyan developed systematic approaches to chemical experimentation that anticipated modern scientific methods while creating new chemical compounds and processes that had important practical applications. The Persian approach to alchemy combined systematic experimentation with theoretical speculation in ways that advance both practical chemical knowledge and philosophical understanding of natural processes. Persian alchemists developed laboratory techniques and equipment that enabled systematic chemical investigation, while creating theoretical frameworks that influenced chemical and philosophical thought for centuries. Persian agricultural science achieved remarkable sophistication through systematic observation and experimentation that improved crop varieties and farming techniques throughout the Persian territories. Persian agricultural texts described crop rotation methods, soil improvement techniques, and pest management strategies that increased agricultural productivity while maintaining soil fertility and environmental sustainability. The Persian approach to crop improvement included selective breeding programs that developed new plant varieties adapted to specific environmental conditions, and agricultural requirements. Persian agriculturalists understood plant genetics and breeding principles that enabled systematic improvement of food crops, while preserving genetic diversity that provided protection against plant diseases and environmental changes. Persian livestock breeding programs achieved remarkable results in developing animal breeds optimized for specific purposes, including transportation, military service, and agricultural work. Persian animal husbandry techniques included systematic breeding records, nutritional management, and veterinary care that produced animals of exceptional quality and performance while maintaining genetic diversity and disease resistance. Persian veterinary knowledge included understanding of animal anatomy, disease processes, and therapeutic techniques that enabled effective treatment of animal health problems. Persian veterinary texts described surgical procedures, pharmaceutical treatments, and preventive care methods that maintained animal health while supporting agricultural and transportation systems that depended on animal power. Persian contributions to mechanical engineering included the development of automated devices and mechanical systems that anticipated later technological developments. Persian engineers created water-powered mills, mechanical clocks, and automated manufacturing equipment that demonstrated understanding of gear systems, power transmission, and precision manufacturing that influenced technological development throughout the medieval world. The Persian approach to mechanical engineering combined theoretical understanding with practical experimentation in ways that advance both mechanical knowledge and technological capability. Persian engineers developed systematic approaches to machine design that considered materials, power sources, and operational requirements, while creating mechanical systems that served practical needs with remarkable efficiency and reliability. Persian urban planning achievements included comprehensive city design that balanced residential, commercial, and administrative requirements while creating beautiful and functional urban environments. Persian city planners developed zoning principles, infrastructure systems, and public amenities that supported urban populations while maintaining environmental quality and social harmony. The Persian approach to urban infrastructure included water supply systems, sewage management, and transportation networks that served urban populations efficiently while maintaining public health and environmental sustainability. Persian cities achieved population densities and urban amenities that would not be equalled in Europe until the modern period, while creating urban environments that balanced human needs with environmental constraints. Persian architectural achievements during the Islamic period reached unprecedented levels of structural sophistication and aesthetic refinement that influenced building construction throughout the Islamic world and beyond. Persian architects developed new structural techniques including advanced arch and dome construction that enabled buildings of remarkable scale and beauty while using traditional materials and construction methods. The Persian development of masanas or honeycomb vaulting created decorative and structural systems that achieved both aesthetic beauty and structural efficiency. These complex geometric constructions required sophisticated mathematical understanding and precision craftsmanship, while creating architectural effects that influenced building decoration throughout the Islamic world. Persian garden design during the Islamic period created landscape architectural principles that influenced garden development throughout the Islamic world and into medieval Europe. Persian gardens integrated water features, plant materials, and architectural elements according to geometric and symbolic principles, while creating outdoor environments that provided both practical utility and spiritual meaning. The Persian approach to landscape architecture included systematic understanding of plant ecology, water management, and environmental design that created sustainable landscape systems that could maintain their beauty and functionality across changing seasonal and climatic conditions. Persian gardens achieved integration of natural and artificial elements that created environments of extraordinary beauty while serving practical needs for food production, climate control, and recreational activities. Persian textile arts during the Safavid period achieved technical and artistic standards that established Persian textiles as luxury goods sought after throughout the world. Persian textile artists developed new weaving techniques, dyeing methods, and design systems that created fabrics of exceptional quality and beauty, while establishing Persian textile production as a major economic activity. The Persian silk industry during the Safavid period included systematic silk production from sericulture through fabric production that created vertically integrated manufacturing systems capable of producing silk textiles of the highest quality. Persian silk producers developed new varieties of silkworms and improved silk processing techniques that increased both quantity and quality of silk production, while creating employment for thousands of workers. Persian carpet production during the Safavid period represented the culmination of centuries of weaving tradition and technical innovation that created carpets of unparalleled beauty and quality. Persian carpet weavers developed new knotting techniques, pattern systems, and dyeing methods that created carpets that were both functional floor coverings and works of art that influenced decorative arts throughout the world. The Persian approach to carpet design included sophisticated understanding of color relationships, pattern composition, and symbolic meaning that created carpets that served both practical and cultural functions. Persian carpets incorporated religious symbolism, cultural motifs, and aesthetic principles that expressed Persian cultural identity while creating decorative works that appealed to diverse cultural audiences. Persian metalworking during the Islamic period included innovations in both ferrous and non-ferrous metal production that created tools, weapons, and decorative objects of exceptional quality and beauty. Persian metalworkers developed new alloys, surface treatments, and decorative techniques that influenced metalworking throughout the Islamic world while creating metal objects that combined functional utility with artistic excellence. The Persian approach to decorative metalwork included sophisticated understanding of metal properties, working techniques, and aesthetic principles that enabled creation of metal objects that served ceremonial, religious, and practical functions while expressing Persian cultural values and artistic capabilities. Persian contributions to optical science during the medieval period included systematic investigations of light, vision, and optical instruments that advanced understanding of optical phenomena while developing practical applications in astronomy, medicine, and manufacturing. Persian optical scientists developed new theories of light and vision that influenced scientific development throughout Europe and Asia, while creating optical instruments that improved astronomical observation and medical diagnosis. Persian innovations in lens grinding and optical instrument construction enabled production of telescopes and microscopes centuries before these instruments became common in Europe. Persian optical craftsmen understood principles of lens design and construction that enabled creation of optical instruments with remarkable precision and performance while establishing Persian optical technology as among the most advanced in the world. Persian contributions to musical theory and practice included systematic understanding of acoustic principles and musical relationships that influenced musical development throughout the Islamic world and beyond. Persian musical theorists developed mathematical approaches to musical intervals and harmonies that created theoretical foundations for musical composition while preserving and developing traditional Persian musical forms. Persian musical instrument construction achieved remarkable technical sophistication in creating instruments that combined optimal acoustic performance with artistic beauty. Persian instrument makers developed new construction techniques and design principles that created musical instruments that influenced musical development throughout the Islamic world, while establishing Persian musical instruments as standards of quality and performance. The Persian approach to musical education included systematic teaching methods that preserved traditional musical knowledge while encouraging creative development and technical excellence. Persian musical schools developed pedagogical techniques that enabled systematic transmission of musical knowledge across generations, while maintaining the vitality and creativity that characterized Persian musical traditions. Persian literary criticism during the medieval period developed systematic approaches to literary analysis and evaluation that influenced literary development throughout the Islamic world. Persian literary critics developed theoretical frameworks for understanding poetry and prose that combined aesthetic principles with cultural and spiritual considerations, while creating standards for literary excellence that guided literary production for centuries. Persian contributions to historical methodology included systematic approaches to historical investigation and narrative construction that influenced historical writing throughout the Islamic world and beyond. Persian historians developed new techniques for evaluating historical sources and constructing historical narratives that combined scholarly accuracy with literary skill while preserving cultural memory and creating new forms of historical understanding. The Persian approach to philosophical synthesis during the Islamic period created systematic philosophical works that combined Islamic religious thought with Persian cultural traditions and classical philosophical influences. Persian philosophers developed new philosophical systems that addressed fundamental questions about reality, knowledge, and human nature, while maintaining cultural continuity and religious orthodoxy. Persian contributions to legal theory during the Islamic period included systematic approaches to Islamic jurisprudence that balanced religious law with practical administrative requirements and local cultural traditions. Persian legal scholars developed new interpretive methods and legal principles that influenced Islamic legal development throughout the Islamic world while creating legal systems that served both religious and practical functions. Persian educational institutions during the Islamic period achieved remarkable sophistication in curriculum development, pedagogical methods, and institutional organization that influenced educational development throughout the Islamic world and beyond. Persian schools and seminaries developed systematic approaches to education that combined religious instruction with practical training while preserving and developing Persian cultural traditions. As we trace these countless threads of Persian achievement across 26 centuries, we encounter not merely a sequence of historical events, but a continuous demonstration of human capacity for cultural creativity, adaptation, and synthesis. Persian civilization endures not because it remained unchanged, but because it mastered the art of preserving essential characteristics, while continuously adapting to new circumstances and opportunities. In the gardens of contemporary Iran, where roses bloom as they have for millennia, in the workshops where craftsmen still create carpets using techniques perfected centuries ago, in the universities where students study both ancient Persian texts and modern scientific principles, we witness the living continuity of Persian civilization. This continuity reminds us that true cultural achievement lies not in rigid preservation of the past, but in the creative synthesis that enables societies to honour their heritage while engaging constructively with an ever-changing world. The Persian achievement across 26 centuries stands as testimony to the human capacity for creating civilization that serves both practical needs and higher aspirations, that honours diversity while maintaining unity, and that adapts to changing circumstances while preserving essential values and cultural identity. In understanding Persian civilization, we gain insights not only into the past, but into the continuing possibilities for human cultural achievement and the creation of societies that combine justice, beauty, and wisdom in service of human flourishing. The sophisticated understanding of climate and environmental conditions that shaped Persian agricultural development enabled systematic adaptation to diverse ecological zones, ranging from mountainous regions to desert oases. Persian agricultural specialists developed region-specific cultivation techniques that maximize productivity while preserving soil fertility and water resources across dramatically different environmental conditions. In the mountainous regions of northern and western Persia, terraced agriculture systems were constructed that could cultivate steep slopes while preventing soil erosion and managing water flow. These terracing systems involved moving millions of cubic meters of soil and stone to create cultivated platforms that could support intensive agriculture in otherwise unusable terrain. The engineering calculations required for terracing included precise slope gradients, drainage systems, and structural support that ensured system stability across centuries of use. Persian development of high-altitude agriculture included crop selection and cultivation techniques adapted to shorter growing seasons and extreme temperature variations. Persian agriculturalists identified and developed crop varieties that could mature quickly while providing adequate nutrition and storage characteristics for mountain populations. These high-altitude agricultural systems supported substantial populations in regions that would otherwise have been unable to sustain permanent settlement. The Persian approach to desert agriculture involved comprehensive water management systems that could support cultivation in regions receiving less than 200 millimeters of annual precipitation. These systems combined surface water collection, groundwater extraction, and water conservation techniques that enabled productive agriculture in extremely arid conditions while maintaining ecological balance. Persian innovations in desert agriculture included the development of salt-tolerant crop varieties and soil improvement techniques that could restore productivity to soil damaged by salt accumulation. Persian agriculturalists understood the chemical processes involved in soil salinization and developed systematic approaches to soil rehabilitation that enabled continued agricultural production in challenging environmental conditions. The Persian understanding of seasonal climate variations enabled systematic planning of agricultural activities that optimized productivity while minimizing risks from weather variations. Persian agricultural calendars included detailed scheduling of planting, cultivation, and harvest activities coordinated with astronomical observations and climate predictions that maximized agricultural success while reducing losses from adverse weather conditions. Persian livestock management included systematic understanding of animal nutrition requirements and feeding strategies that optimized animal health and productivity while minimizing environmental impact. Persian animal husbandry techniques included rotational grazing systems, supplemental feeding programs, and breeding selection that produced animals adapted to specific environmental conditions and agricultural requirements. The Persian development of integrated agricultural systems combined crop production, livestock management, and environmental conservation in ways that created sustainable agricultural communities capable of maintaining productivity across generations. These integrated systems included crop-livestock interactions, organic waste recycling, and soil fertility management that created closed-loop agricultural systems with minimal external inputs. Persian contributions to botanical knowledge included systematic cataloguing of plant species and their properties that created comprehensive botanical databases used throughout the ancient and medieval worlds. Persian botanists developed plant classification systems and descriptive methods that enabled systematic study of plant characteristics, while preserving knowledge of medicinal, nutritional, and industrial plant applications. The Persian approach to medicinal plant cultivation included systematic cultivation techniques and quality control procedures that ensured consistent pharmaceutical effectiveness. Persian medicinal gardens included specialized growing areas for different categories of medicinal plants, with environmental controls that optimized active compound production while maintaining genetic diversity and disease resistance. Persian innovations in food preservation included systematic techniques for extending food storage life that enabled surplus agricultural production to support non-agricultural populations and provide food security during adverse conditions. Persian food preservation methods included controlled fermentation, dehydration, and chemical preservation techniques that maintained nutritional value while preventing spoilage and contamination. The Persian development of granary systems included large-scale food storage facilities that could maintain grain quality for multiple years while protecting stored food from insects, rodents, and environmental damage. These storage systems included climate control, pest management, and inventory tracking that enabled systematic food distribution and emergency food supplies for entire regions. Persian contributions to textile fiber production included systematic cultivation of fiber plants and development of fiber processing techniques that created raw materials for textile production. Persian fiber cultivation included specialized varieties of cotton, flax, and other fiber plants, developed through selective breeding programs that optimized fiber quality while maintaining plant productivity and disease resistance. The Persian silk industry included systematic sericulture techniques that optimized silk production through controlled breeding of silkworms and systematic management of mulberry cultivation. Persian silk producers developed feeding schedules, environmental controls, and harvesting techniques that maximized silk quality while maintaining consistent production levels that supported large-scale textile manufacturing. Persian innovations in dyeing techniques included development of new dyes and dyeing processes that created colors of exceptional brilliance and permanence. Persian dye production included systematic cultivation of dye plants, development of chemical processing techniques, and quality control procedures that created standardized dye products used throughout the textile industry. The Persian approach to textile design included systematic understanding of pattern relationships, color harmonies, and symbolic meaning that created textile designs serving both aesthetic and cultural functions. Persian textile designers developed pattern libraries and design principles that preserved traditional motifs while enabling creative innovation that kept Persian textile arts vital and continuously developing. Persian architectural innovations during the Qajar period included adaptation of traditional building techniques to modern requirements while maintaining distinctive Persian aesthetic characteristics. Qajar architects developed building methods that incorporated new materials and construction techniques, while preserving traditional Persian architectural forms and decorative systems. The Persian approach to urban development during the Qajar period included systematic city planning that balanced traditional urban forms with modern infrastructure requirements. Qajar urban planners developed new approaches to street layout, public facilities, and residential organization that created modern urban environments, while maintaining Persian cultural identity and community organization. Persian educational reforms during the Qajar period included development of modern educational institutions that combined traditional Persian learning with European academic subjects and teaching methods. These educational innovations created systematic curricula that preserved Persian cultural knowledge while providing students with skills needed for modern economic and political participation. The Persian approach to governmental modernization during the Qajar period included systematic reforms of administrative institutions that improved governmental efficiency while maintaining traditional Persian political values and cultural practices. Persian administrative reformers developed new bureaucratic procedures, training programs, and institutional structures that created modern governmental capabilities while preserving Persian cultural identity. Persian military modernization during the Qajar period included adoption of European military technologies and organizational methods while maintaining traditional Persian military values and cultural practices. Persian military reformers developed training programs, organizational structures, and strategic doctrines that created modern military capabilities while preserving Persian military traditions and cultural identity. The Persian approach to economic modernization during the Qajar period included development of modern industrial and commercial institutions, while maintaining traditional Persian economic values and community relationships. Persian economic reformers encouraged technological innovation, commercial development, and industrial growth while preserving traditional crafts, community structures, and cultural practices. Persian contributions to international diplomacy during the Qajar period included development of modern diplomatic procedures and international relationships while maintaining Persian political independence and cultural sovereignty. Persian diplomats developed new approaches to international negotiation and treaty-making that protected Persian interests while enabling productive relationships with European and other powers. The Persian constitutional revolution represented systematic efforts to create modern political institutions based on democratic principles while maintaining Persian cultural identity and Islamic religious values. Constitutional reformers developed governmental structures that balance popular participation with traditional authority, while creating legal frameworks that protected individual rights and cultural autonomy. Persian constitutional theory during the early 20th century included sophisticated understanding of democratic principles and their adaptation to Persian political traditions and Islamic legal frameworks. Persian political theorists developed constitutional models that combined European democratic institutions with Persian political values and Islamic jurisprudence in ways that created viable governmental systems adapted to Persian conditions. The Persian approach to modern education during the constitutional period included systematic development of educational institutions that combined modern academic subjects with Persian cultural studies and Islamic religious instruction. Educational reformers created curricula that prepared students for modern economic and political participation, while preserving Persian cultural knowledge and Islamic religious values. Persian literary modernization during the early 20th century included development of new literary forms and themes that addressed modern social and political conditions while maintaining distinctive Persian literary characteristics. Persian writers created new forms of poetry and prose that combined traditional Persian literary techniques with modern thematic content and stylistic innovations. The Persian approach to women's rights during the modernization period included systematic efforts to expand educational and economic opportunities for women while respecting traditional Persian family structures and Islamic religious values. Persian reformers developed new approaches to women's education and social participation that balance modern equality principles with traditional cultural practices and religious requirements. Persian industrial development during the Pahlavi period included systematic modernization of manufacturing capabilities through technological innovation and organizational development. Industrial planners created integrated industrial systems that combined traditional Persian crafts with modern manufacturing techniques, while developing new industries based on Persian natural resources and geographic advantages. The Persian approach to transportation modernization included development of comprehensive transportation networks that connected all regions of the country, while supporting economic development and cultural exchange. Transportation planners developed road, rail, and air transportation systems that created modern mobility while preserving local communities and cultural traditions. Persian urban planning during the Pahlavi period included systematic development of modern cities that combined contemporary urban design principles with traditional Persian architectural and community organization concepts. Urban planners created new approaches to city design that provided modern amenities and infrastructure while maintaining Persian cultural identity and community relationships. The Persian approach to healthcare modernization included development of comprehensive medical systems that combined modern medical knowledge with traditional Persian healing practices. Medical reformers created healthcare institutions that provided modern medical care while preserving traditional Persian medical knowledge and integrating it with contemporary therapeutic methods. Persian educational expansion during the Pahlavi period included systematic development of educational institutions at all levels that provided modern academic preparation while maintaining Persian cultural education and Islamic religious instruction. Educational planners created comprehensive educational systems that prepared students for modern careers while preserving Persian cultural knowledge and values. The Persian approach to cultural preservation during the modernization period included systematic efforts to document, preserve, and develop traditional Persian cultural practices while adapting them to modern conditions. Cultural preservationists created institutions and programs that maintained traditional Persian arts, literature, and customs while enabling their continued development and adaptation. Persian archaeological achievements during the modern period included systematic excavation and study of Persian historical sites that revealed new information about Persian cultural development, while preserving historical monuments for future generations. Persian archaeologists developed preservation techniques and research methods that advanced understanding of Persian history, while protecting cultural heritage sites. The Persian approach to museum development included creation of comprehensive museum systems that preserved and displayed Persian cultural artifacts, while providing educational opportunities for both Persian and international audiences. Museum developers created exhibition methods and educational programs that presented Persian culture in ways that enhanced cultural understanding and appreciation. Persian contributions to Islamic studies during the modern period included systematic research and scholarship that advanced understanding of Islamic history, law, and theology, while preserving and developing Shia Islamic traditions distinctive to Persian culture. Persian Islamic scholars created new approaches to Islamic jurisprudence and theology that addressed modern conditions while maintaining traditional Islamic values and practices. The Persian approach to philosophy during the modern period included development of philosophical systems that combined traditional Persian and Islamic philosophical traditions with modern Western philosophical methods and concerns. Persian philosophers created new philosophical frameworks that addressed contemporary philosophical problems while preserving distinctive Persian philosophical insights and approaches. Persian literary achievements during the modern period included continued development of Persian poetry and prose that addressed modern themes and concerns while maintaining distinctive Persian literary characteristics and aesthetic standards. Modern Persian writers created literary works that combined traditional Persian literary techniques with contemporary content and stylistic innovations that kept Persian literature vital and continuously developing. The Persian approach to art during the modern period included adaptation of traditional Persian artistic techniques and aesthetic principles to modern artistic materials and methods while maintaining distinctive Persian artistic identity. Modern Persian artists developed new forms of visual expression that combined traditional Persian artistic values with contemporary artistic techniques and thematic content. Persian musical development during the modern period included preservation and development of traditional Persian musical forms, while incorporating new instruments and compositional techniques that expanded Persian musical capabilities. Persian musicians created new approaches to musical performance and composition that maintained traditional Persian musical values while enabling continued musical innovation and development. The Persian approach to architecture during the modern period included adaptation of traditional Persian architectural principles to modern construction materials and techniques while preserving distinctive Persian architectural identity. Modern Persian architects developed building designs that combined traditional Persian architectural aesthetics with contemporary functional requirements and construction methods. Persian contributions to scientific research during the modern period included systematic investigation of natural phenomena and development of new scientific knowledge, while building upon traditional Persian scientific achievements. Persian scientists developed research programs that advance human scientific understanding while maintaining connections to Persian scientific traditions and cultural values. The Persian approach to technological development during the modern period included adaptation and development of modern technologies while maintaining Persian cultural values and environmental sustainability principles. Persian technologists developed new approaches to technological innovation that served human needs while preserving cultural identity and environmental quality. Persian environmental conservation efforts during the modern period included systematic protection of natural resources and environmental quality while balancing conservation needs with economic development requirements. Persian conservationists developed environmental protection programs that maintained ecological sustainability while supporting economic growth and cultural development. The Persian approach to international cultural exchange during the modern period included active participation in international cultural activities while maintaining Persian cultural distinctiveness and independence. Persian cultural representatives developed new forms of cultural diplomacy that shared Persian cultural achievements with international audiences while learning from other cultural traditions. Persian contributions to international scholarly cooperation during the modern period included active participation in international research and educational programs while maintaining Persian intellectual traditions and cultural perspectives. Persian scholars developed collaborative relationships with international academic communities while preserving distinctive Persian approaches to knowledge and learning. As we conclude this journey through 26 centuries of Persian civilization, we are left not with a sense of completion, but with profound appreciation for the continuity and adaptability that has enabled Persian culture to thrive through countless changes and challenges. The Persian achievement lies not in any single accomplishment, but in the sustained demonstration that human societies can maintain their essential character while continuously adapting to new circumstances and opportunities. The Persian genius for synthesis, evident from Cyrus's integration of diverse peoples into a unified empire to contemporary Iran's efforts to balance traditional values with modern requirements, offers enduring lessons about the possibilities of human cultural development. Persian civilization demonstrates that cultural authenticity and innovative adaptation are not opposing forces but complementary aspects of vital cultural traditions. In the workshops of Isfahan, where craftsmen still create carpets using techniques perfected centuries ago, in the universities of Tehran, where students study both classical Persian texts and modern scientific principles, in the gardens of Shiraz, where poets still gather to recite verses of Hafez, we witness the living continuity of Persian civilization. This continuity reminds us that true cultural achievement lies not in rigid preservation of the past, but in creative engagement with both heritage and change. The Persian experience across 26 centuries offers hope that human societies can create lasting value while remaining responsive to changing conditions, that diverse communities can find unity without sacrificing their distinctiveness, and that beauty and justice can be pursued together as complementary rather than competing goals. In understanding Persian civilization, we gain insights not only into one of humanity's great cultural achievements, but into the enduring possibilities of human creativity, wisdom, and aspiration. As the ancient Persian saying reminds us, the caravan of civilization moves forward not by abandoning its past, but by carrying its treasures to new destinations, enriching each stopping place while being enriched in return. The story of Persian civilization continues to unfold, carrying forward the accumulated wisdom of 26 centuries while facing the future with the confidence that comes from proven resilience, proven adaptability, and proven commitment to the highest values of human civilization. The intricate details of Persian construction techniques during the Achaemenid period demonstrate engineering capabilities that pushed ancient technology to remarkable limits. The stone-cutting methods employed at Persepolis required master craftsmen who could work limestone blocks with tolerances measured in millimeters, using only bronze and iron tools. Each block was individually shaped to fit precisely with its neighbours, creating joints so tight that centuries of seismic activity and weather exposure have failed to separate them. The lifting mechanisms used to position massive stone elements at Persepolis incorporated sophisticated understanding of mechanical advantage and load distribution. Persian engineers developed rope and pulley systems that could raise blocks weighing over 40 tons to heights of 20 meters using coordinated teams of hundreds of workers. The precision required for this work demanded mathematical calculations of forces, angles, and material strengths that anticipated modern engineering principles by over 2 millennia. Persian quarrying operations extended far beyond simple stone extraction to encompass systematic geological surveys that identified optimal stone types for specific construction applications. Master quarrymen could evaluate limestone formations and select stones based on grain structure, mineral composition, and weathering characteristics that would ensure optimal performance in different parts of building structures. This geological knowledge enabled Persian builders to create structures with remarkable longevity and stability. The transportation systems developed for moving quarried stone from distant sites to construction locations required engineering solutions that overcame significant geographical obstacles. The route from quarries to Persepolis included river crossings, mountain passes, and desert sections that required different transportation methods and specialized equipment for each terrain type. Persian engineers developed modular transportation systems that could adapt to changing geographical conditions while maintaining efficient material flow. Persian rope-making technology achieved remarkable sophistication through systematic development of fiber preparation, twisting techniques, and load testing procedures that created ropes capable of supporting enormous loads while maintaining reliability under extreme stress conditions. Persian rope makers understood fiber properties and mechanical relationships that enabled them to calculate load capacities and safety factors for different rope constructions and applications. The Persian approach to construction site organization included systematic workflow management and quality control procedures that coordinated the activities of thousands of workers while maintaining construction standards and safety protocols. Construction sites were organized into specialized work areas with designated material storage, tool maintenance, and worker accommodation facilities that enabled efficient operations while minimizing accidents and delays. Persian innovations in scaffolding construction included temporary structural systems that could support workers and materials at significant heights while providing stable work platforms for precision construction activities. These scaffolding systems incorporated understanding of structural engineering principles and load distribution that enabled safe construction of buildings with unprecedented height and complexity. The Persian development of construction scheduling included systematic planning of construction sequences that optimized resource utilization while coordinating the activities of different craft specialties. Construction schedules accounted for seasonal weather variations, material delivery schedules, and workforce availability while maintaining overall project timelines that enabled completion of massive construction projects within reasonable time periods. Persian architectural proportioning systems included mathematical relationships between building dimensions that created aesthetic harmonies while ensuring structural stability and functional efficiency. These proportioning systems were based on geometric principles and numerical relationships that created buildings with inherent visual appeal while serving practical requirements for space allocation and structural performance. The Persian understanding of foundation engineering included systematic soil analysis and foundation design procedures that ensured structural stability in diverse geological conditions. Persian foundation systems included deep excavations, soil improvement techniques, and structural reinforcement methods that enabled construction of massive buildings on challenging sites while providing long-term stability and durability. Persian innovations in mortar technology included systematic development of binding agents and aggregate materials that created mortar mixtures optimized for different construction applications and environmental conditions. Persian mortar formulations included additives and processing techniques that enhanced strength, durability, and weather resistance, while enabling efficient construction procedures and long-term structural performance. The Persian approach to architectural decoration included systematic integration of structural and ornamental elements that created buildings serving both functional and aesthetic purposes. Persian decorative systems incorporated symbolic meaning, cultural references, and artistic excellence, while enhancing rather than compromising structural integrity and functional efficiency. Persian water management systems during the Sasanian period achieved unprecedented sophistication through integration of multiple water sources and distribution methods that supported large urban populations while maintaining agricultural productivity. The Sasanian capital of Ctesiphon included water supply systems that served over 500,000 inhabitants through a combination of river diversions, underground channels, and elevated aqueducts that maintained reliable water supplies during all seasons. The engineering calculations required for Sasanian water systems included precise determination of flow rates, pressure requirements, and distribution patterns that optimized water delivery while minimizing system losses and maintenance requirements. Sasanian hydraulic engineers understood fluid dynamics principles that enabled them to design water systems with remarkable efficiency and reliability using only traditional materials and construction techniques. Persian innovations in urban sewage management included comprehensive waste collection and treatment systems that maintained public health while preventing environmental contamination. Sasanian cities included underground sewage networks with settling basins, filtration systems, and disposal methods that processed urban waste efficiently, while protecting water supplies and preventing disease transmission. The Persian development of public bath systems included sophisticated heating and water circulation technologies that provided public hygiene facilities serving diverse urban populations. Persian public baths incorporated hypercost heating systems, water temperature controls, and circulation pumps that created comfortable and sanitary bathing environments while serving important social and cultural functions. Persian contributions to glass-making technology included development of new glass formulations and manufacturing techniques that created glass products with enhanced clarity, strength, and decorative possibilities. Persian glassmakers developed furnace designs, temperature controls, and forming techniques that produced glass objects serving both functional and artistic purposes, while establishing Persian glass as premium products sought throughout the ancient world. The Persian approach to ceramic glazing included systematic development of glaze formulations and firing techniques that created ceramic surfaces with exceptional durability and aesthetic appeal. Persian ceramic artists understood chemical relationships between clay bodies, glazing materials, and firing atmospheres that enabled production of ceramic works combining artistic excellence with functional utility. Persian innovations in textile dyeing included development of new dye sources and application techniques that created colours with exceptional brilliance and permanence. Persian dye masters developed systematic approaches to dye extraction, preparation, and application that enabled consistent colour reproduction while creating new colour combinations and effects that influenced textile arts throughout the medieval world. The Persian silk industry during the Sasanian period included complete vertical integration from silkworm cultivation through finished fabric production that created one of the most sophisticated manufacturing systems of the ancient world. Persian silk producers controlled every aspect of production, including mulberry cultivation, silkworm breeding, cocoon processing, thread preparation, weaving, and finishing, that enabled consistent quality control while supporting technological innovation and artistic development. Persian carpet weaving during the Sasanian period achieved technical and artistic standards that established Persian carpets as luxury goods sought by royalty and nobility throughout Europe and Asia. Persian carpet weavers developed new knotting techniques, pattern systems, and quality control procedures that created carpets combining functional utility with artistic excellence, while establishing design traditions that continue to influence carpet production today. The Persian approach to jewellery design included sophisticated understanding of metallurgical techniques and gemstone properties that enabled creation of jewellery combining precious materials with artistic excellence. Persian jewellers developed new alloying techniques, stone-setting methods, and decorative systems that created jewellery serving both ornamental and symbolic functions, while demonstrating technical capabilities that influenced jewellery making throughout the ancient world. Persian contributions to perfume and cosmetic production included systematic development of aromatic compounds and application methods that created luxury personal care products used throughout the ancient world. Persian perfume makers developed distillation techniques, blending methods, and preservation procedures that created fragrances with exceptional quality and longevity, while establishing Persian perfumes as premium luxury goods. The Persian development of paper-making technology included systematic improvement of fibre processing and sheet formation techniques that created writing materials with superior quality and durability. Persian paper makers developed new approaches to fibre preparation, pulp processing, and sheet formation that produced paper with exceptional smoothness and strength, while reducing production costs and enabling broader access to writing materials. Persian bookbinding techniques achieved remarkable sophistication through development of new binding methods and decorative systems that created books combining functional durability with artistic beauty. Persian bookbinders developed leather processing techniques, adhesive formulations, and decorative methods that created books capable of preserving text for centuries, while serving as works of art that demonstrated cultural sophistication and artistic excellence. The Persian approach to manuscript illumination included systematic development of pigment formulations and application techniques that created illustrated manuscripts with exceptional artistic quality and colour permanence. Persian manuscript illuminators developed new pigment sources, colour mixing methods, and artistic techniques that created illustrated books combining literary excellence with visual beauty while preserving cultural knowledge and artistic traditions. Persian contributions to mathematical knowledge during the Islamic period included fundamental advances in algebraic methods and geometric principles that influenced mathematical development throughout Europe and Asia. Persian mathematicians developed new approaches to equation solving, geometric construction, and numerical calculation that advanced mathematical knowledge while creating practical applications in engineering, architecture, and commercial activities. The Persian development of astronomical instruments included sophisticated mechanical devices that enabled precise measurement of celestial positions and movements. Persian instrument makers created astrolabes, quadrants, and other observational tools that combined mathematical precision with mechanical reliability, while enabling astronomical observations that advanced understanding of planetary motions and calendar systems. Persian innovations in medical instrumentation included development of specialized surgical tools and diagnostic equipment that enhanced medical practice and therapeutic outcomes. Persian medical instrument makers created surgical knives, forceps, and other medical tools that combined metallurgical excellence with ergonomic design, while enabling medical procedures that saved lives and relieved suffering throughout the medieval world. The Persian approach to pharmaceutical preparation included systematic development of drug formulations and quality control procedures that ensured therapeutic effectiveness while minimizing adverse effects. Persian pharmacists developed new approaches to drug extraction, purification, and preparation that created medicines with reliable therapeutic effects, while establishing quality standards that influenced pharmaceutical practice for centuries. Persian contributions to optical science included systematic investigation of light properties and development of optical instruments that advanced understanding of vision and light behavior. Persian optical scientists developed new theories of light transmission and reflection, while creating lenses and mirrors that enhanced astronomical observation and medical diagnosis. The Persian development of mechanical engineering included sophisticated understanding of gear systems, power transmission, and automated mechanisms that enabled creation of complex mechanical devices. Persian engineers developed water-powered mills, mechanical clocks, and automated manufacturing equipment that demonstrated mastery of mechanical principles while creating practical applications that improved quality of life and economic productivity. Persian innovations in chemical processing included systematic approaches to chemical analysis and synthesis that advanced understanding of chemical properties and reactions. Persian chemists developed new techniques for chemical separation, purification, and combination that enabled creation of new materials and products, while advancing theoretical understanding of chemical processes. The Persian approach to environmental management included comprehensive understanding of ecological relationships and sustainable resource utilization that enabled long-term agricultural and economic productivity. Persian environmental managers developed systematic approaches to soil conservation, water resource management, and forest preservation that maintained environmental quality while supporting human activities and economic development. Persian contributions to geographic knowledge included systematic mapping and geographical description that advanced understanding of regional geography and cultural relationships. Persian geographers developed new cartographic techniques and descriptive methods that created accurate geographical knowledge while facilitating trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange throughout the ancient and medieval worlds. The Persian development of commercial law included systematic approaches to contract enforcement and dispute resolution that facilitated long-distance trade and international commerce. Persian legal scholars developed new legal principles and procedural methods that created reliable frameworks for commercial relationships, while protecting the interests of merchants and consumers engaged in complex economic transactions. Persian innovations in banking and finance included development of new financial instruments and accounting methods that facilitated international commerce while providing security for financial transactions. Persian bankers developed credit systems, currency exchange procedures, and risk management techniques that enabled commercial operations across vast distances while maintaining financial stability and reliability. The Persian approach to international diplomacy included sophisticated understanding of cultural differences and negotiation techniques that enabled peaceful resolution of conflicts while protecting national interests. Persian diplomats developed new approaches to treaty negotiation and implementation that created stable international relationships while maintaining Persian independence and cultural identity. Persian contributions to military engineering included systematic development of fortification design and siege warfare techniques that influenced military architecture throughout the medieval world. Persian military engineers developed new approaches to defensive construction and offensive tactics that created military capabilities serving both defensive and strategic requirements, while demonstrating engineering excellence and tactical innovation. The Persian development of naval technology included systematic improvement of ship design and navigation techniques that enabled maritime operations across vast distances. Persian shipbuilders developed new construction methods and design principles that created vessels with enhanced seaworthiness and cargo capacity, while enabling naval operations that supported both military and commercial objectives. Persian innovations in agricultural technology included development of new farming tools and cultivation techniques that increased agricultural productivity, while maintaining soil fertility and environmental sustainability. Persian agricultural engineers developed ploughing systems, irrigation methods, and harvesting equipment that enhanced farming efficiency while reducing labour requirements and environmental impact. The Persian approach to urban planning during the Islamic period included systematic development of city design principles that balanced residential, commercial, and religious requirements while creating beautiful and functional urban environments. Persian city planners developed new approaches to street layout, building organisation, and public facilities that created cities serving diverse populations while maintaining cultural identity and community cohesion. Persian contributions to educational methodology included systematic development of teaching techniques and curriculum organisation that enhanced learning effectiveness while preserving cultural knowledge and values. Persian educators developed new approaches to instruction and assessment that enabled efficient knowledge transmission while encouraging creative thinking and practical skill development. The Persian development of library science included systematic approaches to book collection, organisation, and preservation that enabled effective knowledge storage and retrieval. Persian librarians developed cataloguing systems, preservation techniques, and access procedures that created libraries serving both scholarly research and popular education while preserving cultural knowledge for future generations. Persian innovations in manuscript copying included development of new transcription methods and quality control procedures that ensured accurate text transmission while maintaining high standards of artistic presentation. Persian scribes developed systematic approaches to text copying that preserved literary and scholarly works, while creating beautiful manuscript books that served both functional and aesthetic purposes. The Persian approach to artistic patronage during various historical periods included systematic support for artistic development that encouraged creative innovation while preserving traditional artistic values. Persian patrons developed new models of artist support that enabled artistic achievement while maintaining cultural continuity and creative excellence across generations of artists and craftsmen. Persian contributions to musical theory included systematic analysis of musical relationships and development of new compositional techniques that advance musical knowledge while preserving traditional musical forms. Persian musical theorists developed new approaches to melody, rhythm, and harmony that enhanced musical expression while creating theoretical frameworks that influenced musical development throughout the Islamic world and beyond. As we reach the end of this extended exploration of Persian civilization across 26 centuries, we find ourselves not at a conclusion, but at a recognition of the inexhaustible richness of human cultural achievement. Persian civilization demonstrates that societies can maintain their essential character while continuously adapting to new challenges and opportunities, that cultural diversity and political unity can be achieved simultaneously, and that the pursuit of beauty, justice, and wisdom can create lasting value that transcends the circumstances of any particular historical moment. The Persian genius lies not in any single achievement, but in the sustained demonstration that human communities can create civilization that serves both practical needs and higher aspirations. From the engineering marvels of Persepolis to the poetic achievements of Hafez, from the administrative innovations of Cyrus to the architectural splendours of Isfahan, Persian civilization has consistently shown that technical excellence and artistic beauty, practical effectiveness and spiritual meaning can be pursued together as complementary rather than competing goals. In the continuing story of Persian civilization, we find enduring inspiration for our own efforts to create societies that balance tradition with innovation, that honour diversity while maintaining unity, and that pursue material progress without abandoning spiritual and cultural values. The Persian achievement across 26 centuries stands as testimony to the boundless potential of human creativity, wisdom, and aspiration when guided by justice, sustained by patience, and inspired by the vision of a more beautiful and harmonious world.